We'll, of course, get the delivery numbers over the weekend for Tesla. Shares up about 2.3% ahead of those results. So obviously, Wall Street seems pretty optimistic.
This is the worst piece of software I've ever seen in a safety critical product. It has horrendous safety defects that are simply intolerable.
So if he really cared about people's safety, he would actually focus on the real things that need to be improved with full self-driving, which there are many, which he hasn't mentioned once. Just a bunch of false information and all this hyperbole and big words for software that's phenomenally good, and you can see it in the video with Dan sitting right there.
Ross, a full-page ad in the New York Times, a Super Bowl commercial, for God's sakes, and 4 months later, they've done nothing. That should be in the test.
Yeah, but
and they've done nothing. That's criminal. The kids are going to die, and people should go to jail. Fix the damn software or take it off the road right now, or somebody's going to do it for you.
In this video, all eyes are on Tesla ahead of their Q2 delivery and earnings numbers. Plus, some big drama this week. Two of the loudest voices regarding Tesla. One, fairly bullish, unless Elon has an opinion he doesn't like, in which case it's time to run for the board of directors. An angry old man attempting to destroy his reputation along with Tesla, spending a fortune trying to smear the company and get FSD pulled off roads, team up and create some serious drama. And by the way, don't forget to check out the latest exclusive Patreon video on the most important investing lessons of all time. According to some of the comments, it's the best video I've ever posted on Patreon, and who am I to argue with that? For real though, it's very important, at least if you're an investor who prefers to create wealth rather than vaporize their money. If you're not a member, you can join Patreon with the link in the pinned comment.
We'll, of course, get the delivery numbers over the weekend for Tesla. Shares up about 2.3% ahead of those results. So obviously, Wall Street seems pretty optimistic. What are the numbers we can expect?
Yeah, we are expecting those numbers to come out potentially on Sunday here on the 2nd. So we are actually expecting, and the market is expecting, around 445,000 vehicles to be delivered from April to June of this year. Now,
for context, this would be just over a 5% increase from the first quarter of this year. And I'd just like to once again predict ahead of time some of the behavior and comments of the NPC Tesla bears. Tesla will produce even more vehicles this quarter than they did last quarter. Extremely likely outcome of this is that there will be more inventory than there was last quarter in absolute terms, because, spoiler alert, everything's scaling together, more production, more inventory in line with one another. But the bears won't look at the relative increase. Instead, they'll look at the absolute number. Look, there's more inventory this quarter than last quarter. There's no demand, which they've been saying every quarter for many years. This bears repeating. As Tesla scales production globally, in absolute terms, the actual number of vehicles in inventory, the gap between production and delivery, will be a higher number every quarter, just like their production is a higher number every quarter. And most bears who are intellectually dishonest or intellectually deficient, not sure which is which, maybe both, instead of accepting and or understanding that everything will remain relatively in proportion, Tesla's percent of vehicles in inventory is roughly consistent quarter over quarter. They're going to cherry pick and manipulate the data and freak out. There's no demand. It's the end of the world. And they'll be saying this all decade.
This is also going to include, and we will see the impacts of the discounts that they have started to offer, as well as other incentives, other tax credits. So we are going to see if it's had a meaningful impact on not only production numbers, but delivery numbers. And if we could try to ascertain how the environment is in China as well. Now, when we get these numbers, we typically do not get a lot of commentary along with these numbers. So we kind of have to speculate where the growth is at when it comes to the actual deliveries.
No doubt there will be plenty of speculation about which regions Tesla's selling more or less vehicles in this quarter versus last quarter. I don't know why people get so fixated on things that don't matter, but to be clear, the thing that matters is how many vehicles Tesla produced, and more importantly, how many vehicles Tesla sold, period. How many vehicles Tesla sold, end of story. Not how many vehicles Tesla sold in X region. The thing that matters is how many vehicles they sold on Earth. That's the only thing that matters. A lot of people will argue this point, but I have a rule. Never argue with an idiot, because they'll drag you down to their level and then beat you with experience.
But this increase of 445,000 vehicles would be about a 5% increase from the previous quarter. So still showing some growth there, but highly anticipated number. As you said, we are seeing a move to the upside in the stock today. If we do see the company beat the street's expectations, that could be a further catalyst to the upside.
Obviously, those discounts come at a cost, and I'm referring to margins, and I know that that's a key metric that a lot of investors and analysts will be watching for Tesla. Do we expect to get any margin guidance, or you said a kind of a lack of commentary? We'll have to wait until they actually report results to get an idea of what the impact of those discounts are on the margins for Tesla.
Yeah, we will have to wait till the earnings announcement itself to be able to see what the impact is for margins. But you can definitely expect a lot of analysts are going to be able to try to back into that number. Obviously, we saw a sub 20% number when it came to the car sales, and that was a little bit of a concern for a lot of analysts out there. We did see the stock move to the downside because of that. But once again, if they are able to compensate that lower margin rate with greater deliveries, then obviously that could be a win for the company. So right now, I think what we are going to be expecting is just the raw data coming from Tesla. We'll have the analysts after kind of infer what the impact is going to be on the bottom line for the company, and then we will also have a confirmation of their earnings results as well as far as the date and time with this vehicle release as well. So that's going to be the information that we will see this weekend, and then obviously we'll probably see a lot of commentary coming in Monday or Wednesday, because Tuesday is a holiday.
Keeping in mind that I don't know anything about anything, if I had to guess, my guess is that unless Tesla can pull a massive rabbit out of the hat, gross automotive margins in Q2 will be slightly lower than they were in Q1. That said, if I had to guess, and it is just a guess, I suspect from there, they'll trend consistently higher over time. Of course, the thing I care about isn't short-term margins. I don't care about this quarter or next year. I just care about long-term. And long-term, I expect Tesla margins will be in excess of 25%, probably closer to 30, maybe even 35% long-term. I didn't say tomorrow, and I didn't make a prediction about next quarter or next year. I'm talking about the next decade. I suspect Tesla's gross automotive margins throughout the next decade will be somewhere around that 25 to 30+% range. Now, I could be wrong. I don't know. I don't have a time machine, but I have done some numbers here. Based on declining costs, scaling production, Tesla continuing to innovate in terms of manufacturing, plus battery costs coming down as well. Oh, and then there's the whole 50% cheaper thing, that thing at Investor Day this year that they showed us, that whole thing. In short, I'm pretty confident that Tesla's gross automotive margins will march consistently toward 30% throughout the decade. For example, just because Tesla can produce a vehicle for approximately half the price as today's Model 3 or Model Y doesn't mean they'll need to sell the vehicle for half the price. Tesla will sell the vehicles at whatever the market clearing price is. And just between you and I don't think Tesla's next generation vehicle will need to be sold for half the price of today's 3 or Y, even though they'll be producing it for half the price. You can't read between the lines. There's a lot of room for very healthy margins in there.
What do you think, Kevin? Analysts are getting a lot more split on Tesla when you take a look at the breakdown. Median price target is 210. Tesla's currently trading at 263. So obviously, analysts need to do some catching up, or maybe Tesla has seen its run higher with this 114% year-to-date increase. But I know you went from kind of cautious to a little bit more optimistic. Do you think that we will continue to see this broadening out of the rally, or do you think Tesla will continue to lead this market higher?
Tesla could potentially lead this market even higher. I mean, at the end of the day, a lot of traders and investors are looking for companies with strong balance sheets and the market cap to come with it. And that's where a lot of these inflows are coming in at. And also, we have to just keep in mind, too, the passive investor, those that are going in and depositing money and, buying ETFs like the SPY and some other ones as well. That's going to impact those that are heavily weighted in the index, like Tesla, NVIDIA, Apple, Microsoft as well. So that's also another reason for the catalyst. I would say I'm still cautious of this marketplace. I would like to see the market broaden out here a little bit, having the Russell 2000 participate, seeing the regional banks starting to move back to the upside, as well as some of these other lagging, industries like healthcare. If we continue to see that type of participation, I think that would be bullish for the stock. Just one thing to note, if we look at the last 5 sessions, we are seeing, for the last 2 or 4 sessions, we are seeing a move back to the upside when it comes to Tesla, but it's on declining volume. So that's something just to keep an eye on. That does not really show a lot of conviction. Maybe there's a little bit of hesitancy as we get towards that $280-ish level, which has been an area of resistance. So, Caroline, we'll probably see what the reaction is going to be for next week. If we get some good numbers, that could be a catalyst to break through that critical resistance point and hold that. But if not, maybe we see some continued volatility in this name.
For what it's worth, historically speaking, Tesla stock tends not to react the way you might expect after earnings and delivery results. I can't count the number of times that Tesla stock has collapsed after record-breaking quarterly results. So too, in the rare quarters when Tesla fell short of expectations, sometimes the stock surges, so keep that in mind. gambling on the short-term movements of Tesla stock, especially around delivery and earnings numbers. Given how volatile and unpredictable and counterintuitive the stock can be, it's really playing with fire. Speaking of playing with fire, in case you missed some of the drama in the Tesla universe this week,
Ross Gerber Kawasaki president and CEO. He's also a Tesla investor and former board member. And Dan O'Dowd, founder of the Dawn Project. As we mentioned, Dan has been a longtime critic of Tesla over self-driving technology. He's been in a battle with the company over it. Thank you both very much for joining us. Since we know Ross's position in the stock, Dan, just to lay the table here, are you short any shares of Tesla or have any financial ownership or relationship here?
Nope. No, nothing, no shares, no puts, no calls, no anything.
Why did you get, in your bio, it says, your sort of goal is to see full self-driving eradicated. Why is that?
Well, not eradicated necessarily. If they can make it work, I'm perfectly happy for it to come out, but it can't be out of there on the road. This is the worst piece of software I've ever seen in a safety critical product. It has horrendous safety defects that are simply intolerable.
So just to be clear, Dan O'Dowd, who has recently admitted to spending in excess of $10 million on his anti-FSD campaign, is not the CEO of a company, Green Hill Software, who create advanced driver assistance systems and many other products for other automotive manufacturers, meaning he doesn't stand to lose anything at all if Tesla's FSD is successful, and he doesn't have a long history of attacking things that he sees to be commercial threats. If you happen to do any digging and see anything about Linux and Dan and his campaign, that didn't happen, and there's nothing to see here. He just really cares about the safety of people. After all, the millions of deaths caused by Tesla oh wait, there are none. Well, he's just trying to prevent the first death from anybody due to Tesla's FSD. Dan is a very good man. He's not acting out of self-interest. He's just trying to do everything he can to save people from this extremely dangerous, life-destroying technology.
And it is not converging on success. They're not fixing the problems. They're still there. 7 months ago, I told them that a FSD would blow past a school bus with the red lights flashing and the stop sign out. I showed it to them. They didn't do anything. In February, I made a Super Bowl commercial showing this exact same thing, and they ignored it. And in March, a kid in North Carolina stepped off a school bus, and a Tesla on self-driving Tesla ran past the flashing lights and ran the kid down and put him in the hospital, and he still is not fully recovered. And they've done nothing to fix the fact that it blows past school buses. It's insane. Nobody would build a product like that. It is totally irresponsible.
Ross, did you get Dan in the car? How did this car ride happen here?
Yeah, Dan agreed to go in the car, and so we went up to Santa Barbara and met with him, and I let him pick wherever he wanted to drive as long as it was a real drive in a real environment. And he said, drive me to the office. So I said, okay, fine. So we got in Tesla, I engaged full self-driving, and it drove us to the office perfectly. You can see it all in the video. We went through 13 stop signs, 8 humans were avoided, and 6 construction workers in a construction site. We went by fire trucks, schools, and everything. And the drive was perfect. And in fact, really the challenge that Dan is dealing with is the fact that his entire narrative is false, and everything he's saying is a bunch of garbage. And really the worst part of it is he's saying I'm blowing a stop sign that we didn't even blow, and I was driving. So if he really cared about people's safety, he would actually focus on the real things that need to be improved with full self-driving, which there are many, which he hasn't mentioned once. Just a bunch of false information and all this hyperbole and big words for software that's phenomenally good, and you can see it in the video with Dan sitting right there.
Ross, I don't know. I mean, Dan, I don't know which one of you is. Don't we just need a driving test for the software for self-driving? I mean, if it's a teenager,
we just drove through
I don't mean
Absolutely.
your test. I don't mean your test. I mean, there ought to be a standard test where it's got to run a course a certain number of times successfully. Maybe it has to be repeated over and over again so that we as society can trust that this software can actually drive. I mean, it's like saying that AI can be trusted to solve business problems or write stories on its own. You have to check its work. So doesn't it have to be certified? Isn't that the real issue here? Government has to say, here's the driving test software. Dan, pass it.
Absolutely, positively,
Dan.
and that test must include that it does not go past school buses with the lights flashing and run the kids over. It did it We said it was going to happen. A full-page ad in the New York Times, a Super Bowl commercial, for God's sakes, and 4 months later, they've done nothing. That should be in the test.
Yeah, but
So just to be clear, over 1 million people die every year in road accidents. And in just about every one of these cases, except in the rare instance where an asteroid impacts a car and the car flips over and the people die because an asteroid hit the car, not sure that's ever happened, but hypothetically, someone or multiple people were at fault. Human error, driver error. This is a lot of lives lost. For those who are unaware, Tesla does not advertise FSD as a product that drives the vehicle for you. In fact, before engaging it every single time, you are warned that you need to be paying attention. You are responsible. This software is not driving for you. The software is assisting you. You must pay attention. You are responsible. So, hypothetically speaking, if a shit driver is involved in an accident when FSD is enabled, who's at fault? The shit driver who wasn't paying attention despite being warned that they needed to, just like the shit drivers involved in about 1 million fatal accidents every year are shit drivers? Or is the software to blame? This is an important distinction. This question really matters. The way that Dan is framing this is that if a shit driver enables FSD irresponsibly and is involved in any kind of accident, it should be taken off roads. Of course, the irresponsible driver, the shit driver, don't take them off roads. Take the software off roads. This argument does not make any sense. Unless, of course, you have a competing company and you're scared of Tesla, in which case, makes a lot of sense. But this is a very important distinction. Dan is using a single example here. Apparently, an irresponsible driver in a Tesla who wasn't paying attention was involved in an accident. This is not the fault of FSD. This is the fault of the inattentive and or incompetent driver, whose responsibility it is to not crash, to not pass buses if they're not meant to. I find it interesting that Dan isn't running full-page ads and doing Super Bowl ads for Cruise and Waymo, who've been involved in numerous accidents, in some cases entirely autonomous without a human driver at all, which is quite different. In those cases, the vehicles themselves are at fault. The software is at fault. There's no human driver. Dan's entire argument is deeply flawed, of course. If in a hypothetical scenario in which he did have a competing company and was scared shitless, might understand why he's still willing to spend $10+ million of his own personal wealth trying to kill FSD. The reason this is such an important topic is there's no coverage at all of the lives saved and the accidents prevented in FSD with superhuman reflexes and reaction times. The software's not perfect, that's why drivers still need to monitor it. This is why it's called beta, as in unfinished. And this is why, before engaging, everyone is reminded that you need to pay attention. You're in control. It's your responsibility. If somebody uses the software inappropriately and irresponsibly, that's on them. It's their responsibility. If somebody's driving at twice the speed limit, their car goes flying off the road and they kill themselves, it's not the road's fault. It's not the car's fault. It's their fault. They broke the rules and they acted irresponsibly, recklessly, and dangerously, and they paid the price.
Ross, can you agree with that? There ought to just be a standard driving test. Not Ross and Dan went for a ride and the rest of us have to take your word for it how the ride went, right? Society needs to know that this thing is being tested at a level that we can trust it, just like a submersible
I think my video shows, John, I think my video shows exactly what you're talking about.
But no, not your video. Like, your video is not good enough for all the rest of the country to trust, right? Tesla self-driving.
No, just let me finish. I agree there should be a standardized test for autonomous vehicles before we say it's level 4 autonomy, you don't have to pay attention anymore. I 100% agree. But for the car to learn how to drive, it has to learn through real world experiences, just like this stop sign, where the sign itself was 30 feet in front of the line. The speed limit on that street is too high. It's 35 miles per hour and it should be 25 miles per hour. And what we found was a dangerous intersection, not a problem with full self-driving.
You're conceding it missed the stop sign, Ross.
No. The stop sign was 30 feet in front of the actual line. So for the car, it creates a certain level of confusion because of the way the intersection was designed. Most stop signs are actually where the line
You have to operate on the roads that are there. You have to operate on the roads that are there right now.
You've done the test so many times.
You don't get to remake all the roads and drive on the roads when your product is unsafe.
When we've spoken with this,
does not work.
I just want to, Dan, kind of get on the record. And regulators, we're told, have taken a sort of cautious approach to this. And I don't understand how we can describe that when these cars are already out on the roads everywhere and this is permitted. What are the current regulations, Dan, around people being able to use full self-driving to the extent to which you guys did and Elon Musk has described and many others?
That the current situation is that if it's called a level 2 car, then there's no regulation. There's no testing. There's no analysis. There's absolutely nothing. You can do anything you want. If it's a level 4 car, which means no driver, then there's a bunch of rules and regulations, and you got to go through the state, and it's a lot of work. And Google and Waymo and Cruise and people like that have done that, and they have self-driving cars today. And but the problem here is what Elon Musk did was brilliant. He wrote into the manual that you have to keep your hands on the wheel at all times, and then he said, "Well, it's a level 2 problem. You have to have your hands on the wheel."
That's exactly the point. You do need to have your hands on the wheel. You do need to be watching. You do need to be paying attention, and you do need to be ready to take over at any moment. And drivers are reminded of this every time they engage the software. Dan's argument is a non-starter. If you, as an adult, purchase a cleaning product that says, "Do not drink," you take the cleaning product home and then you drink the cleaning product and you get sick or die, it's not the fault of the cleaning product that clearly told you what you should not do, and then you defied the clear instructions on the cleaning product. Curious Dan isn't waging a campaign to remove all human drivers from roads, given the 1+ million fatalities globally every year in road accidents.
But watch
Isn't that
the
exactly
video.
what happened at our stop sign? That's exactly what happened.
Watch the video.
So Ross, let's bring this back to what matters for investors here. If this self-driving is really going to be level 4, self-driving is really going to work, whose insurance is going to pay when the inevitable mistakes get made? And software makes mistakes. Even great software makes mistakes. We just need it to make fewer mistakes than humans, right? Is it going to be Tesla's insurance or the person in the car's insurance who trusted that the software was going to do what it says? Because it seems to me like maybe it's Tesla's insurance that should pay when the software makes a mistake.
That's correct. And that's why Tesla has an insurance company right now and is actually tracking all of our Tesla drivers driving and scoring it so that they are actually offering the insurance directly to Tesla drivers. And my assumption is once they go to level 4, that they will take the liability if there's an accident with a level 4 vehicle that was their fault.
Completely agree. And this is a no-brainer. I mean, think about this in the future. If Tesla's going to have autonomous vehicles, of course, they're going to offer insurance that includes liability. So if there's an accident involving the FSD software, once you're no longer required to supervise and it's the actual fault of the software as opposed to driver error, as in driver not paying attention, not ready to take over, once the software is marketed as you do not need to pay attention, this software will drive for you. If there are accidents, it's obviously the fault of the software. A lot of insurance companies are going to be years behind the 8 ball in terms of offering a product to create liability insurance. So Tesla makes a hell of a lot of sense for them to offer this product to consumers. And in fact, I'll take it a step further. I think it's very likely in the future there'll be a combined package where you get FSD for a monthly subscription along with insurance. So you're covered if the software makes an error.
And I have every confidence that as this software is developed and widely adapted, we will save tens of thousands of lives. See, what Dan's doing is he's hindering he's trying to hinder the advancement of life-saving technologies because he's talking about a fake accident that never happened with some kid at some school bus.
Hang on, Dan.
Now, I have no idea whether or not this is a fake accident that never happened, but putting that to the side, Ross has a point. Dan is, in essence, trying to slow down the progress of technology that's already saving countless lives, but you don't hear about that. Breaking news, Tesla vehicle, software reacts faster than human driver and avoids a fatal accident. You don't hear about those incidents, do you? Of course not. They're not even measured. However, this software is already saving lives and not just humans. I'm sure many of you will have seen videos of Tesla vehicles reacting to animals running out from grass in the middle of the night, the car reacting way faster than a human could possibly have reacted. To Ross's point, if Dan is successful in even slightly slowing the rollout of this life-saving technology, the dude's going to have a lot of blood on his hands.
Really ridiculous.
Dan, just to
100 people
clarify-
are going to die today in regular cars, and we have to stop.
The current system is not great. We all grant that. Dan, you mentioned Cruise and Waymo a moment ago, and they do have autonomous vehicles on the road in San Francisco and the likes. Are they included amongst the players who you think are bad actors here, or do you think that their technology is responsibly being deployed?
They are 1,000 times more responsible than Tesla, which is reckless. It's not a question of whose insurance pays. It's who goes to jail when you ship a product with a bug in it so grotesque that everybody knows you don't pass the school bus. And it's been that way 7 months, and they've done nothing. That's criminal. The kids are going to die, and people should go to jail. Fix the damn software or take it off the road right now, or somebody's going to do it for you.
Dan sounding rather emotional and fairly perturbed there. Of course, he's not channeling the fear he has about his company. Oh, wait, because he doesn't have a company being disrupted by Tesla software and Tesla putting many of his so-called customers out of business. He's definitely not feeling threatened, legitimately so, by Tesla's progress in autonomy. Interestingly, however, when asked about Cruise and Waymo, he claims that they're doing things far more responsibly before having his tantrum. It's Cruise and Waymo who are actually operating fully autonomous vehicles without driver supervision that are being involved in accidents. Rest in peace, a dog recently. And I'm not suggesting that these should be pulled from roads either. I'm just pointing out a little bit of hypocrisy here. Tesla doesn't have any autonomous vehicles, yet all of their vehicles require driver supervision. Whereas Cruise and Waymo have actually deployed fully autonomous vehicles that are getting into accidents, causing accidents, and just major delays in terms of traffic. Plenty of videos you'll find of a stuck Cruise vehicle, Waymo vehicle, etc. just parked in the middle of a fucking road. So you do have to ask the question, why is Dan so focused, laser focused on Tesla software when Tesla doesn't have autonomous vehicles yet? They're not instructing people that they're driverless vehicles. They're not operating driverless vehicles. And their driverless vehicles that don't exist yet aren't getting in crashes because there are no autonomous vehicles yet. Whatever points Dan has about Tesla's full self-driving software don't seem to hold up. Because in every instance, whether these cases and scenarios he's mentioned are true and legitimate or otherwise, in every case, if there is an accident, it's driver error. The driver who is to have their hands on the wheels at all times. The driver who is to be supervising and ready to take over at all times. Whereas, if a Cruise vehicle that's legally, autonomously operating without a driver is involved in an accident, it's not the driver's responsibility, it's the software's responsibility. If I didn't know any better, I might suspect that maybe Dan did feel a little bit threatened, was concerned for his company, Green Hill Software, the hypothetical company he doesn't actually have, that isn't threatened by Tesla and isn't serving many automotive manufacturers and doesn't provide advanced driver assistance systems or anything along those lines. If I didn't know any better, I might think that Dan has legitimately identified Tesla as a real threat to his company that doesn't exist, the hypothetical one, and that's why he's willing to spend $10+ million of his personal wealth trying to remove this software from roads. But hey, what would I know? I'm just some dumbass on the internet.
This is ridiculous.
Dan, you know
Nobody,
they update the
GM wouldn't
software
do
every
this.
couple weeks.
Toyota wouldn't do this.
We'll leave it
Nobody would do this.
Gentlemen, thank you both. Appreciate you both coming on. Try to get to the bottom of this. Really, we do. Ross Gerber, Dan O'Dowd, we very much appreciate it.
So I guess I should take this opportunity to say thank you so much to Dan O'Dowd. He's doing a very important job here, trying to save all the millions of people that Tesla software is killing every millisecond. I wish him all the best in getting this dangerous software, this life-destroying, child-murdering software off roads as soon as possible. The world will be a much safer place when you're successful. Thank you, Dan. The world needs more men like you. By the way, the irony is, the amount of exposure that Dan is generating for Tesla software, I suspect this guy has already sold many thousands of Tesla vehicles. Super Bowl ads, full-page ads in the New York Times or some other large paper, I don't know. Do people even read papers anymore? The guy's also spending money advertising his videos on Twitter. He's paying Elon Musk indirectly to smear Tesla's FSD software, and the irony. And I'm totally sure that the regulators will be all over this soon because once they recognize Dan has a point, this is extremely dangerous software that's killing many people every second, they'll immediately pull it from roads. Keep at it, Dan. You're not destroying your reputation. You're not embarrassing yourself. You're not destroying your reputation. The world isn't laughing at you. You don't seem like an extremely deluded, angry, bitter old man who feels threatened. No one is laughing at you, and I highly encourage you to keep up the great work. Don't forget, Tesla will be reporting their production and delivery numbers this weekend, and if you want to check out the latest video on Patreon, one of the best, not my words, your words, check out the link at the pinned comment. The most important investing lessons of all time. Definitely a must watch. You can join Patreon with the link in the pinned comment. Athletic Greens AG1 has given me a massive, meaningful boost in energy, allowing me to do a lot more every day, including using my brain more and using my body more. I highly recommend you guys and girls check it out. Athletic Greens AG1 is an excellent way to fill in nutritional gaps. It's got 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, and whole food source nutrients, plus prebiotics and probiotics and digestive enzymes and adaptogens to help you deal with stress. Plus, if you click the link in the pinned comment or head to drinkag1.com/SMR, you can get yourself a 1-year free supply of vitamin D3 and K2. But don't take my word for it. Here's what some of you guys and girls have to say. AG1 has changed my life. I was, as you described, treating myself like a circus, ate like trash, rarely exercised, used alcohol as a stress crutch, cannabis also. AG1 is what gave me the kick in the ass, got me back to the gym, motivated me to do more for myself, family, my business, etc. Keep doing what you do. Now, I know there's some skeptics, the same kind of people who think Elon Musk is a fraud, reading this going, what do you thought? There's no way that's possible, bro. It must be a placebo effect. Believe it or not, this is a recurring theme. If you give your body everything it needs to feel and perform its best, including having a lot more energy, you'll need ways to use that energy. For me personally, that includes more exercise, moving my body more, more social activity, and more cognitively demanding tasks, including producing a fuck ton of exclusive content over on Twitter and on Patreon, plus my daily YouTube uploads. The proof's in the pudding. On to another testimonial from a viewer of this channel. SMR, you asked me to provide feedback on AG1. Here it is. It has helped with mental acuity, stamina, and intestinal waste management. Can't read between the lines. Certainly helps with regularity and digestion. That's what the digestive enzymes are for. It has also dramatically reduced my cravings for sugar. You guys need to stop eating sugar. It's fucking poison. I'm 50, 5'9", and overweight, aka a fat motherfucker. I think that's a technical term for overweight, isn't it? Is it fat motherfucker or obese? I can't remember. I average 100 hours a week in the West Texas oil fields as a safety supervisor. Jesus Christ, dude. No wonder you're struggling to keep your weight under control. 100 hours a week. Brutal. It has helped me lose weight. It is not an appetite suppressant. It can help fat people suppress cravings, and motivation to be healthier is critical for changing your diet. Love you, brother. Again, this is a great point. It's something people really don't seem to grasp. If you have more energy, everything becomes easier. It's like turning on easy mode for life. A few years ago, before I was taking AG1, my health was trash. I was struggling to get through the day, had afternoon fatigue. The last thing I wanted to do was either use my brain or move my body. Didn't have the energy. Now, my biggest struggle every day is figuring out ways to use that energy. I'm exercising way more, doing a lot more with my friends and family, and of course, my work output has increased substantially. And you can fact check me. Check out the average length of my videos I was posting to YouTube 3 years ago. Need I say more? And one final testimonial. Love this one. Okay, here's the deal for me with this AG1 shit. I'm 41 years old and not the type to eat, drink, smoke, or sleep healthy, so I was skeptical. That being said, here's what I experienced. Day 1, meh. Day 2, afternoon fatigue was about 45 minutes late. Day 3, 0 afternoon fatigue. Day 4, 0 afternoon fatigue plus extra energy. Day 5, again, 0 afternoon fatigue plus energy, wondering, what the fuck, really? See, this is the thing, right? The results for many people are just almost too good to be true. This is the same experience I had. My afternoon fatigue just vanished out of nowhere. I'm like, wait, what the fuck? Why am I not tired in the afternoons anymore? Surely, it's not that AG1 shit, is it? Turns out it was. Day 6 and 7, same thing. Day 8, same thing. Plus, I had the want to get things done around the house that I normally would slack off and not get done. Again, the point, extra energy, you'll need to use it, you'll find ways to use it. Day 9, 10, and 11, and today is day 12. I fucking love it. So however you managed to get me to buy it, I'm so glad you did. Thank you so much, SMR. It really changed me so far. Guys, this shit really works. Just try it. By the way, this is the reason I continue to relentlessly promote AG1. A lot of people get real fucking mad in the comments. Oh my God, Snake Oil Salmon's sold out. Oh my God, he's a scammer. This is fraud. But constantly, I'm pretty sure everyone making these comments is also currently short Tesla stock. I'm not particularly concerned about people having a negative perception, those folks suffering from small brain syndrome, still living in my bum's basement syndrome, etc., writing mean comments, claiming AG1's a scam or it doesn't work. I mean, bro, when I get feedback like this is what keeps me going. And remember, there is a 90-day money-back guarantee. There's nothing to lose here. Just try this stuff for a month, and if you don't get these results, get your money back. See, it's a literal no-brainer. It's an IQ test at this point in time. Testimonial after testimonial after testimonial like this. Get your money back if it doesn't work. Just try it for a month, and if it doesn't work, get your money back. Today's the day. It's finally time. Be like this guy who was a massive skeptic, but finally, after 1,000 promotions in a row, caved in, tried AG1, and has results like this. Head to drinkag1.com/SMR or click the link in the pinned comment, and please, let me know how you're feeling in a few weeks' time. Now, if you'll excuse me, time to put my extra energy to good use. I'll be recording some more exclusive content for Patreon and my Twitter subscribers. So click the links in the pinned comment. See you over on Twitter and or Patreon, and don't forget to grab your AG1. Love ya.